Just as a review, I know I do a lot of talking, but two areas I want you to be focused on right now. One is that I speak about oral communication and written communication having the foundation that is the same. I call them cousins because they really are. And you've had a lot of experience with writing. Since you were in preschool, you were learning the alphabet, writing your name, learning how to connect your thoughts to your words, to your audience, be it your mother or your teacher. So you've been doing this for a long, long time. Oral communication is organized in 4 formats. The first one is intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal. That means the thoughts that you have with yourself in your own head. It starts there. What you believe, what you think, has a great influence on your satisfaction as a human being. And the audience is self. The next category is interpersonal. These are the communications we have, the turn taking we have in conversations with dyads, 2 people, right? A close relationship. Best friends, romantic partners, parents, teachers. Those are dyads, turn taken back and forth. And that is what we saw in the first communication model, how transactional it was, because it's clear in a dyad when I'm speaking and you're listening, and then you're speaking and then I'm listening, we're actually doing the same thing at the same time. And this is true in public speaking as well. So we have intrapersonal, interpersonal, and it could also be small groups of people in interpersonal, like families, small groups that mean something to each other. And then public speaking. Public speaking, the audience is defined, but it's not personal anymore. It's impersonal. But you can define your audience. And the feedback is immediate, right? Not delayed. Okay. What's the fourth? Mass communication. And that's what we're doing now. As much as this class is about public speaking and we are learning some of the best practices, because we are not in real time and we're not getting immediate feedback, it really is mass communication. When in real mass communication, the audience is not defined. Of course, it is defined with us, but the feedback is delayed, if ever. Mass communication, we think of news writing, reporting, television, podcasts. Messages are created and encoded to the receiver, but you never know how they're being decoded. You just don't know. And as you probably already figured out, I am the speaker, I am the source, I am encoding out a message to you. There are a lot of yous, and every person is going to have another decoding. Every one of you is going to have another experience of how much was communicated or what was communicated, right? It's not 100%, that is for sure. So if you are taking public speaking, but it's really public speaking, mass comm, but still very valuable to use your oral communication muscle. And the next piece I wanted to talk about, which I have spoken about before, at least I think I have, is the 4 methods of speech delivery. And you can read about them in our textbook. They do a nice job explaining the 4 methods. The first is manuscript. And that's why when I say if you find an essay from the past, I don't want you reading it, because usually people cannot read naturally. They're not going to engage their audience. Their energy level is going to start off great and then go down into a monotone of some sort. It's very hard to read in the moment with enthusiasm and energy, and you're not going to keep your audience's attention. But manuscript, writing the whole thing out. The next is memorization, when, just like an actor or an actress would, you write out a manuscript and you memorize it. Sometimes, if you're very talented, you can pull that off. You can give out, what you want to as far as energy in a memorization. But if you forget a part and you don't have notes with you, it can be really frustrating if you have that mental, I just forgot what I was just about to say. It's not recommended. And then the third is impromptu, when you do not prepare. It's like a toast at a wedding. Some people prepare, and some people just get up there with their drink and start talking. And most people who do that have a little regret, wish they took time to not do it from the fly. And the fourth is extemporaneous, meaning speaking from a prepared note or an outline. And that's when I talk about bulleting your ideas down and not necessarily having to say every word that you have in the bullet points, but that you know it so well, it's natural for you to speak. But the the notes are really important. It's the discipline it takes to pre-think what you're about to say, so you do not waste your time or the audience's time, and you get out what you want to say. And that is the discipline. You really need notes. When students get up in front of my class in face-to-face classes, they, oh, I don't have any notes. I know this by heart. 9 out of 10 times, it's a lackluster presentation. They're just fooling themselves. They think they did great. And it's like, really? You kind of like lost our attention somewhere along the second minute of your presentation. So just remember extemporaneous speaking from a prepared notes or outline. Have them with you. Make sure you can read them. Make the font large enough that you can read it. Because sometimes students will, and I've done the same thing, I write in my handwriting that's good for reading but not good for using as a presentation. Make it larger, highlight the key ideas, work with your notes. Some people use index cards. I'm not an index card fan. I usually have 2 pieces of paper with my entire presentation on them. The introduction, oftentimes I'll write that out word for word, even though I don't read it that way, just to get it into my head. And then I start off with my body. And the conclusion, the same thing. Sometimes I have written that down word for word, and the body I usually bullet point the key ideas. And that's how I practice it. That's why when you look at the 4 methods of speech delivery, most of us use all 4 methods in any one presentation. Some of it is manuscript, some of it is written down, word for word. Some of it has become memorized because we practiced it so many times. Some of it is impromptu, and there's nothing wrong with that. That all of a sudden an idea or a thought or a concept comes to your mind, especially in a live audience. There's times in a live audience I will repeat myself because I am reacting to the feedback I'm seeing, the nonverbal feedback from my audience. When people are looking quizzical or they don't look like they understand, I'll repeat. Deliberate repetition is a key thing in effective presentations. Don't shy away from it. And then extemporaneous. Yes, it's prepared. Yes, it's outlined. So I think that was what I wanted to sum up today for you. And remember, communication is connection. No one's perfect. We are all going to have different audiences, will have different interpretations of what we say, but it's our genuine willingness to try to encode our message to our audience is very important. And it's very different than written communication because the audience is not in charge of the pacing. In written communication, you have other tools at your disposal. You have paragraphs, you have punctuation marks, you can highlight key ideas, right, in a written communication, bold print, and that will draw your audience in. But you're in charge as the writer of the pacing. And if a reader doesn't understand, they'll reread a paragraph or the entire essay. But in oral communication, you are always in charge of the pacing. And that's why it's incredibly important to think of the needs of your listeners. If you are audience-centered, you will be successful. There will be a video we're going to see shortly called How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint. And it's all about putting yourself in the role of the listener. It's critical. It really is very important. Okay, just carry on. Carry on to the summer of 2022.